In this video, I want to talk about how you can soften a face a little bit. So we have here an image, and you guys have this, and what I'd like you to do is to create a new layer, and then using the healing brush tool, this one here, I want you to sample skin tones and to touch her up. So this is the way that she looked originally. And as you can see on this layer, I have basically eradicated all forms of age. So she looks a little bit too extreme in my opinion. We want to bring some of this back, okay? So again, this is the way that she looked originally. We just have like really natural lines going on in the face. And I touched her up to an extreme level where everything is gone. And now the next step would be lower the opacity of this layer. Now I'm just going to bring it down to about 60 or 55%, okay? So I'm bringing back a little bit of the lines around her face and under her eyes. And there we can compare, that's the way it was, to the way it is now. It looks a lot more natural, all right? So you can completely clean up a face and like make it look like kind of plastic surgery gone too far. And then if you want to make it look natural, then bring it back by lowering the opacity. Now I'll tell you, the only trick to using this healing brush to clean up the skin is just keep taking a source from a different skin area. So if, for example, I'm working on here, I want to sample from right down here. If I'm working here, I sample from here. If I'm working on this line here, I sample from here. When I'm working doing this brush, I just constantly have my Alt key down and I'm just constantly resampling and then going and getting rid of. Just resampling and then going and getting rid of, right? Just kind of resample, go and get rid of. So just keep your finger on the Alt key. Okay, another step that you can do if you really want to soften the skin even more after you've done this retouching and you've lowered the opacity, if you want to just kind of soften if there are any pores or anything like that, is we're going to duplicate this background. So I'm just going to drag that into my create a new layer, and that duplicates it. I'm going to turn off my original and I'm going to merge these two. So I'm going to go to layer, merge visible. Okay, so now I have a layer that had my copy of the woman with my retouch. That's all merged here in this new layer. Turn this one back on. We can't see it because this one's on top. Okay, and so now actually I'm not going to work from this background. Now I'm going to duplicate this one. So this is my retouched one. I'm going to duplicate this one in the same way. And so now I have two copies of the same. This is the woman with the background copy and merged with her layer that has had all that healing brush. So what I'm going to do is this top layer, I'm going to add a filter to it, a Gaussian blur. So I go to blur, Gaussian, and pick a number, nothing too big. We don't want it to be like that. No, something, just like around 2. Basically something that would kind of soften the face, but this is too blurry, so we have to bring it back. And click OK. And now I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to make that opacity around 80%. And I'm going to erase the eyes. So what I'm getting is now the layer underneath. I'm putting a hole in this layer and I'm seeing that other layer, which is also retouched, underneath. All right, I'm going to erase the eyes. I'm going to erase the tip of the nose. I'm going to erase the mouth as well. Those are the things that really need to be in focus. And now I'm going to lower the opacity of my eraser a little bit more. And I'm going to bring back her eyebrows and a little bit more around her eyes. Maybe right above it, a little bit more of that nose. Okay. And it still looks a little bit too artificial, like her eyes are just kind of popping out. So the next step is I'm going to lower that opacity even more, and then I will bring back a little bit more just to kind of soften this effect. Might need to increase my opacity a bit, up into the 30s. We want it to kind of look like a natural shift between what's in focus and what's out of focus. So let's just zoom out here. Okay, and so this is without the layer, and if you look at the pores, you can see that it's a lot sharper. and this is with my blurred layer. So you can see the main parts are still in focus, the things that let us think that the image is in focus, but the hair and the skin, everything gets just a little bit softened, all right? So it's just another little trick that you can use. There it is without, and there it is with, the kind of subtle trick to soften some skin.